Hey friends, this is Dr. Hazel-Grace Yates here, and I'm super thrilled, honored, excited to share, introduce, welcome Izzy and T, who are dear friends and both colleagues, and they are here. Well, actually, let me just pause, say hello. How is it to be here in this call right now in this moment?
Hello, it is new and different for me. So you are also popping my Facebook Live cherry. And this is, right, it's great. And I'm excited, maybe a little nervous.
Great.
And this is only my second time with you on Facebook Live, Hazel-Grace, but the first time was so fabulous that I'm really looking forward to this one too.
This is really only second? That's wild. Okay. All right. Well, let me tell y'all why you two are here. You are going to be facilitating Sexier Subtleties of Consent at our...
Oh, no.
No?
Oh,
Yes,
we are?
We're looking forward to it.
Oh, I was like, I think nothing. At our third virtual intimacy retreat. And Izzy, you use they, them pronouns, and you are a sex and consent educator. T, you use they, them pronouns, and you are a therapeutic kink practitioner.
That's correct.
So tell me, why does this work matter to you in the world, and or like, why are you passionate about doing this work in the world?
I have experienced, and I think a lot of people and women have experienced a lot of what might be called consent injuries. And we certainly know about a lot of consent violations. And I started learning what a big difference it was in the world when there was enthusiastic, powerful consent. And I just want to share it with everyone. I want everyone to be in a position to be living these more valued and validated and positive, self-accepting lives through better consent.
And we went through our own consent injury process in our relationship where, you know, we had an intimate friendship that ended up crossing some boundaries. And Izzy was skilled enough to come to me and say, hey, look, our relationship is worth figuring this out. And can we try to talk through this? And I was like, wow, someone wants to actually talk about where I might have violated their consent and can we work through it? And it took us a long time to do so, but the result has been such an enhanced form of intimacy when the more clear we got on our consent, the sexier everything seemed to get. And we kind of want to share that to see if that's possible for other people too.
Yeah. And I love the whenever you were explaining that a moment ago, Izzy, there felt like something different about like what it was like before and what it was like after. And can you share a little bit more about like before you had this clarity around consent? What were some feelings around consent injuries or just consent in general?
You know, and it's funny because I didn't recognize at the time that consent was the thing that needed to change. I felt really undervalued or not valued. Like, actually, I was telling Tia a story the other day, and part of the story, kind of the punchline of the story, is I would like to be involved in my own sex, please. And that was kind of my experience of sex, is that I wasn't part of it.
Whoa.
Right?
I like the little head thing too. Hello, I want to be a part of the sex too.
And you know, and I wanted my enjoyment to matter. I wanted how my body works to matter. I wanted all of these. My body has a lot of really cool extra bells and whistles that are so unbelievably worth it, but you only get if you get my involvement and participation. And that's where I wanted my sex to be.
Yeah.
And my sex is mind-blowing and rock star now. And it was fine before.
Right. Okay, so we went from fine and not being valued and
not really participating.
Not really participating to having extraordinary, off the charts, amazing thing.
And I think it's really connected to the shame work that both you and I have been connected to for years, that the less shame we feel about our sex, the hotter the sex gets. right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the less shameful we are about it. If I can just say, hey, I really want you to do this thing that's a fantasy for mine, and both partners can let go of the shame around liking that fantasy, then they get to engage in it consensually and excitedly. The similar thing happens with consent, when you learn that a person not only is okay with doing this thing to them, right? Yeah, you want to do this thing to me, and you're like, yeah, I can do that. That's really different than, oh, I'm really excited about that. Like when both sides are fully consensually into the thing, it takes the interaction, because enthusiasm is so key in sex. It just takes it up to the next level.
It does, yeah.
Yeah. And something that you said, T, first, I'm really appreciating your excitement and appreciation for when Izzy was like, hey, there was something that I want to talk about. So appreciating your receptivity to that. And also it reminds me of, I'm gonna screw it up, but it's some sort of proverb or story about like a bowl that gets shattered, and then when it gets rebuilt, it gets built with gold, and it's actually like, do you know the word for it?
It's a Japanese cultural kind of concept. It's a process called Wabisabi. And Wabisabi is the notion that the imperfections are part of the perfection and the heart and soul of everything in the universe.
Exactly. That's what I wanted to say, but Izzy said it for me. And that's what it reminds me of hearing about your story and your dynamic and your relationship, that it's actually, it's actually like enhanced because of the breakdown, right?
Yes. Yes. And every breakdown since. Absolutely.
It's a thing, we see in our friendships, right? Some of I think our best friends are people that we've had rough times with and figured out how to get through it. And that rough times make you stronger. And sometimes we can't fix the cracks. The work to fix the cracks is too much.
Right.
But as we keep working on this, I think the more we can lessen consent violations,
right,
and allow them to be injuries can be healed easier than whole breaks.
Yeah.
So if we just get people to recognize, hey, I'm being injured in this activity. My consent isn't quite broken, but it's.
But let's stop before it gets broken.
Yeah.
Right.
We stop before it gets broken. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the one thing that I feel pretty confident about, the thing that the three of us have in common, is being consent nerds and consent geeks. And I know for myself, as a sex educator for the last 10 years, my understanding of consent continues to evolve and evolve and evolve. And it used to be, earlier in the days, it used to seem like black and white, like it's either a consent, it's either a yes or a no. It's very clear, right? But like the complexity of it is, it's so nuanced and so gray, and how we get indoctrinated and programmed will reflect how we show up. And so anyway, it's fascinating stuff. So tell us a little bit about what you're going to be delivering and bringing to our community for this event.
Excellent. So really a lot of what this particular presentation is going to be is designed to be interactive. We want to hear from you. We want to answer your questions. We want to back and forth, right? You're going to get some personal stories that we feel highlight, kind of like this conversation that we've been having about my experiences of sex and not being part of it and that kind of thing, and how that sort of lets you know which part of the consent conversation we're having. You know what I mean? We've got some stories to kind of bring you in there. And we're very excited. This thing happened the other day where we started to have a consent conversation between the two of us, and we said, wait, we have a better idea. Let's do this in the presentation. So we haven't had it yet. We're going to do it live in front of everyone.
Oh my God, no way.
Yeah. Isn't that the best? Yeah. So we're really excited.
That is
but excited.
Brilliant. Gold. Brilliant. Okay.
Yeah.
Carry on.
Yep. And then we've got some kind of questions that we can ask if nobody has their own. But I'm really hoping that between a couple of stories and this live demonstration, that everybody's going to kind of have their own piece that they want to bring in. And then we can just address it as a group, just like we're going to address our personal consent conversation with each other in front of the group.
Right. Okay. It sounds amazing. I hope I actually get to go to your workshop. What would you say to some people who are like, oh, I know consent and I've never violated and like I got this down?
So my favorite part about consent so far, and this is a long exploration for me, is I have yet to find the edges of the conversation. There's always something new. There's always something more. There's always something that it just never occurred to you is in the conversation of consent. So nobody can ever like have it down all the way because there's always something else that we haven't discovered yet.
Yeah.
It is a scientific discovery of epic proportions.
It's an emotional affect that is just, from a scientific perspective, really just beginning to be explored. If you put it in the same level as, you know, the exploration of human compassion or mindfulness, and how long we've had thought leadership in those places. And I've been being educated. I didn't start this train. I've been being educated on consent for 20 plus years. I started back with the Center for Sex Positive Culture when it was still the wet spot. And they were having conversations about consent then that have continued to evolve and continue to evolve. And even being in the industry as a kink and sex educator for most of that time, I am still learning new things about consent and the way it can be applied to life every single day in the work that we've been doing.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and it lands true for me too. And the thing that I've been really curious and exploring recently is about power under, power over.
Yeah.
We were just talking about
And
that
power
today
with.
too, and power with.
Power over, power under, power with.
Right. Yeah. And like just looking backwards on my own self and realizing that based on some of my past trauma, that I haven't been in full agency to actually give consent.
Yes, we talk about that a lot.
Power dynamic.
How do you give, what's the question? How do you give consent to something, even if you think you like it, if you don't know what it is? Like if you've never experienced it before, and you think you're going to like it and you want to try it, but you can't know. Like for some people, they don't know if they like something until they try it. Right. And then you try it and then you're like, no, I don't like this. And then someone says, hey, but you said yes. And you're like, I did say yes because I thought I was going to like it, but I don't. There's a whole conversation in there that we want to get into.
Right.
And is that going to be in the workshop?
Yeah.
And I'm really glad, because I'm interrupting you very consciously here, because that question actually happened at the last virtual intimacy retreat with someone, and there felt like there wasn't like a good answer to that. So I'm super excited about that.
Awesome.
Yeah. What were you gonna say, Izzy?
And then I was going to enhance that to say one of the other things that we are going to talk about is what do you do? How do you go about when you gave consent because you thought you knew it was happening, and it turns out there's more to it than you thought was happening?
Like, so like a repair process, you mean? Or
no, like in that moment, because you're not going to know. It is impossible to know everything that you don't know.
Really?
That we were using was, I might say, hey, you know, do you want to do a flogging? And you're like, yeah, I love flogging. I've been flogged a bunch. Sure.
Right.
And I go, okay. And I go over, and because I love flogging so much, I have floggers. This is not true. This is a hypothetical situation. Let's say I've got floggers from the soft thumpy rabbit fur to the like almost razor wire, you know, chain link. I actually have a stereo wire flogger that when I use it will take chunks of skin out of people. They don't mean that when they said yes to a flogging scene, but suddenly I've got them up there and they said yes. But the nuance of consent, right? This gray area
of sexier subtlety.
How these subtleties are where we get to say, yes, I consent to a flogging of this kind. This is the kind of thing out. And there's a deeper conversation than the yes, no, do you consent to this thing? And that's where we have to get to know our partners in a deeper level and learn how to communicate. And, you know, it requires building some sort of shorthand. It's difficult work, but the better you get at it, the more you speak this language, the better sex you get to have.
Better sex.
Yay!
You may or may not know, I'm totally into better sex.
You are? I didn't know that about her.
Yeah.
Lies.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that the whole world now knows because this is on Facebook Live. I'm sure it's news to everyone.
You should play your game with
Oh, yeah.
A game?
Your
Or
consent.
So T is really excited for the exercise. That's what T's mentioning.
Yeah. Well, that's perfect because we have 5 minutes left.
Great. So, and this is great because, you know, I kind of wrote this up a little bit ahead of time because I was nervous. And I started it with this like, well, Hazel-Grace, like we know each other, you know, for a while now. I know you a little bit here and there, so on and so forth. But now you've given me this even better opening, which is, you like better sex. I have this story that I want to tell you that I think you're really going to like. But I know it's a sexy story, and it's a definitely sexy story. And not everybody is in a good headspace to hear a sexy story all the time. Do you consent to me telling you one of my sexy stories of sex with me and T?
My clarifying question is, how long will the story be?
The part of the story that I'm intending on telling is very short, but you can always ask more questions and make it longer if you want.
Okay, cool. I like the comment about not everyone's always in a good headspace.
Right.
And I feel super excited about hearing about your sexy story, and I'm a yes.
Excellent. So one of the things that I think that you will really appreciate is so I'm gender fluid. We talked about that a little bit, but part of gender fluid for me is that while most of the time I feel like I'm both genders, I kind of slide, right? So sometimes I'm very feminine and sometimes I'm very masculine. And I feel like, Hazel-Grace, you're gonna be with me on this feeling of perception that sometimes us girls sort of get told that women aren't supposed to move a whole lot during sex. Like there's this kind of cultural not great thing about like we're supposed to be receivers. And I can do that sometimes, but most of the time I'm a very active participant. And I think that you will like this particular way that sometimes I'm very active, which is T will turn me upside down. I'm up on my shoulders, right? And my back is arched up, and my bedroom, it turns out, has the windowsill is in this really great place where I can latch my toes on the bottom of the windowsill and use that as leverage for
Wait, is the window open so your neighbors can hear?
It depends on the night.
That's your concern.
That's not my concern. It's my turn on. Okay.
Well, we record ourselves sometimes. We share.
Okay. All right. Okay. Wow.
What you'd appreciate is I turn all the way upside down and I
hang on to the windowsill.
Hang on to the windowsill with my toes so that I have some leverage so that I can push back.
Okay, so when you have leverage, when you push back, which I like the visual of that just now, what different sensation do you notice, T, or what difference does it make for you, Izzy, when you do that?
Well, for me, I can feel the muscles in her legs re-engaged because she's holding on to something. So, you know, when someone is pushing against something, they can do more. And that lets me be more in tune with the timing so that you can be just really in that.
Okay, got it.
And I have a bunch of different experiences here. So one is because I have that leverage, I'm better able to tilt my hips in the direction I want. I can get whatever angle feels best to me.
Right.
And because I now have the leverage to be pushing at the same time that they're pushing, you can get deeper. If I'm particularly feeling like a cervix pounding, then I have a lot more access.
Consensual conversation goes in the moment is, do you mind if I bend your feet up against the wall? And it says, not at all. Do you mind if I hold on to the window with my toes? And I say, not at all. And then there you go. You know, you have both consented into this thing that the other person didn't even know they were going to do.
That's so awesome. I
It's
love
not
it.
quite that formal, just so you guys know.
It's much more of a dance.
It's well, no, I'm just saying in the middle of sex, we're just a little more organic. So because I don't want anybody to kind of have this feeling of well, we're supposed to sound like we're having table in England during the middle of sex, and that's not. I'm not trying to put that on anybody.
Unless it's sometimes your thing.
There you go.
If you want it, go for it.
Period piece fetishes.
That is the whole point. Embrace the things you want, live in the things you want, ditch the stuff you don't.
What did you say, T?
Oh, I was saying
fetishes. Okay.
If you have a fetish with Downton Abbey, right?
Oh, got it. Cool.
Period film fetishes.
Okay, y'all. We're gonna say goodbye here in a minute, and I just want to say that this to me feels like such an important gift for our community, for us to continue to expand and become even more masterful and nuanced with our consent, so that people feel empowered and safe, included, getting to participate in their own sexual experience. So thank you so much for your generosity, your wisdom, your gift, your vulnerability, your personal stories, and I'm excited to participate.
All right, we'll see you this weekend.
Yay. I'm so excited. Thank you for the opportunity.
You're welcome. Love y'all.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.